The baseline operational reality of the fast food sector is brutal. It's a landscape of extreme consumer choice and almost zero brand loyalty. By 2014, KFC faced a critical threat. The legacy chain was aging out of the cultural conversation, risking complete irrelevance to a modern demographic of diners. This line graph displays a multi-year downward trend in cross-generational brand loyalty. The data reveals a stark disconnect with younger consumers, threatening the core business. That slide halts abruptly in 2014. A new management team stepped in with a strict mandate to alter the trajectory. Leadership mandated a dual-lever strategy. They hypothesized that survival required achieving relevance through simultaneous, bold marketing activations and aggressive menu innovation. To reclaim market share, they had to navigate a paradox. Any sustainable, boundary-pushing initiatives had to remain rigidly tethered to the brand's existing foundational positioning. The foundational phase of the 2014 turnaround required what we can call strategic brand archaeology. Management spent months excavating corporate archives. Their objective was to isolate the exact historical periods when the brand operated at peak efficacy. The archives pointed to a single unifying asset. The true heartbeat of the company was the persona and aesthetic of its founder, Colonel Sanders. The newly appointed CMO issued a strategic directive. They needed to pull highly evocative, iconic signifiers, like the Colonel's distinct white suit and Western tie, out of the background and place them at the absolute forefront of all public messaging. This extended directly to the physical product architecture. The iconic red and white bucket was reinstated as a primary signifier to ground the consumer experience. This archaeology established a rigid operational rule. A corporation cannot dynamically step into new market trends until it firmly knows who it currently is. True innovation is never a random departure from corporate DNA. It must be a modernized, highly calibrated expression of the brand's historical core. With the brand's identity secured, leadership shifted to digital execution. They recognized the inherent danger of chasing internet trends by superficially slapping a corporate logo onto whatever was currently popular. The conventional marketing playbook for fast food relies on renting attention. Brands pay standard Instagram influencers to eat the product on camera and read a script. KFC leadership rejected that model, opting instead for a strategy of embedded cultural activation. This split-screen flowchart contrasts the expected outcomes of both models. On the left, the conventional strategy moves from a standard influencer directly to a superficial logo placement. On the right, the embedded strategy requires creating an owned asset within a specific microculture. This shift demands deep research into niche communities, designing digital events that users actively want to participate in on their own terms. Management made the deliberate choice to abandon the conventional influencer route entirely, dedicating their digital bandwidth to this embedded experimentation. In a low-loyalty market, attention cannot simply be bought. It must be captivated through proprietary assets that integrate seamlessly into the culture itself. The specific execution of this embedded strategy involved taking the brand's historical heartbeat, the Colonel, and reconstructing him as a modern virtual influencer. The public reaction was immediate. The virtual avatar struck a chord, generating a massive organic following and exceptionally high engagement metrics across social platforms.
This high level of cultural resonance allowed KFC to accomplish something highly unusual. It allowed them to transition from a standard business-to-consumer marketer into a business-to-business media platform. This stacked bar chart represents the total media spend allocated for the virtual influencer campaign. Incredibly, a full 25% of the campaign's cost was entirely absorbed by outside entities. Secondary brands, specifically Dr. Pepper, Casper, and Old Spice, actively paid KFC for the privilege of having the virtual Colonel promote their own products. Consider the strategic weight of that outcome. A legacy fried chicken chain successfully positioned itself as a paid cultural conduit for entirely different industries, like mattresses and deodorant. The ultimate measurable proof of achieving brand relevance is when external corporations willingly pay a premium to subsidize your marketing budget, simply to draft off your cultural momentum. Translating that digital relevance into physical supply chain logistics required the second lever of the turnaround strategy, craveable menu innovation. The immutable core of the physical business remains their world-famous fried chicken.
However, relying solely on a legacy core product is insufficient to drive urgent, generational foot traffic in a fractured market. Rapid innovation is required to force consumer action. To solve this, leadership deployed a physical market tactic we can define as the democratization of macro trends. They targeted a massive high-end foodie trend, chicken and waffles. At the time, this pairing was highly popular in urban centers, but largely unaffordable or geographically inaccessible to KFC's average consumer demographic. This Venn diagram illustrates the physical product formulation. By overlapping their existing core capability in fried chicken with the external macro food trend of waffles, they identified a highly viable, highly craveable new menu item. The logistical hurdle was execution. The supply chain had to deliver this complex, hot pairing at a strict price point that the mass market could easily absorb. This map of the United States demonstrates the sheer scale of the rollout. KFC leveraged its massive real estate footprint to instantly inject this culinary trend into over 4,000 restaurants, achieving massive nationwide market penetration overnight. Successful physical product innovation synthesizes an organization's core capability with an otherwise inaccessible cultural trend and deploys it rapidly at mass scale. The complete KFC turnaround playbook ultimately relied on owning digital microcultures and democratizing physical culinary trends. This matrix evaluates brand initiatives. The horizontal axis measures brand identity. The vertical measures cultural innovation. Standard practices like renting influencers plot in the bottom left quadrant, low identity, low innovation. Conversely, KFC's virtual influencer and chicken and waffles plot top right, high identity, high innovation. This exposes an inherent corporate tension. Executives fear straying outside their organizational comfort zone, yet remaining stagnant carries the fatal risk of market irrelevance. For legacy brands facing a similar crisis of irrelevance, the strategic imperative is clear. Sustainable, cross-generational relevance demands a strict, uncompromising adherence to foundational brand DNA, weaponized by the operational courage to act completely outside the expected norm.